Thank you, Pradeep, and hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Jamie Smith. I am the president of Linetco Computer Networks Inc. We are the IT division and sister company of BAS Business Solutions. We provide IT and MSP support services from Toronto, Mississauga, Oakville, Burlington, Hamilton corridor. And as such, being the internal IT division for BAS, we also manage the infrastructure and platform for BAS Cloud. As such, I'm often asked to have conversations or do a presentation such as this in regards to what is Sage 300 hosting and what is BAS Cloud. The reason for that is almost all questions revolve around IT and technical. People are used to and familiar with Sage, and so therefore the conversation is almost always just directly on how do we connect, what does it look like, what is a project, how does the onboarding, etc. So that's the reason that I'm here to present today, and I'm going to stick to those topics. So I'm not going to touch on anything really Sage 300 related. I'm going to assume here that everybody knows what Sage 300 is. You're here because you have it or are thinking about implementing it, and that you are wondering, hey, can I do this? What's the difference between putting it on premise versus if I wanted to put it into a hosted solution? What we're going to be covering here today, again, is hosted Sage 300. The general premise of this is that we are installing your Sage 300 software and licenses and data, taking your data and putting it on our managed infrastructure platform. So we're hosting servers in Toronto, and we are taking your Sage 300 applications and implementing them on those servers and delivering it out to you via remote desktop services. The majority of the time when I'm having conversations or being asked to have a conversation or brought into it with an organization, I mean, there's usually very common elements to this. They are, organizations are looking to remove servers from on-prem. And when they are looking to do that, they are then looking, well, I've got to put my files into cloud-based file shares. We've got to get our line of business applications into a SaaS model, such as taking your Sage 300 and putting it hosted. And the reason that they want to be able to do this is they want to have backup security. You know, they don't want to have the complexity of backup and security and the IT resources needed to manage all of these. And when they do this and they have it hosted, they want their Sage 300 to be accessible from anywhere. Workers in the office, workers from home, etc. So the most common times we see these when people are doing Sage 300 upgrades, or when they're changing their infrastructure on premise, or if they're implementing net new and they don't want to implement net new physical hardware into any kind of a Sage 3, implement net new hardware to host their Sage 300. Those are the most often times. And if you notice, all of those times coincide with it's an implementation or a net new installation. So very rarely is somebody going, hey, we really love everything on-prem and we're just figuring we're going to move it without some kind of, no, they're doing an upgrade. That's when they're thinking about it. They're changing infrastructure or net new implementation. So with that, why Sage 300 hosting with BAS? The major premise here for me is going to be that if you're already using BAS Business Solutions for your Sage 300 support, and you're already looking for them for their best-in-class support in that vertical and 35 years of experience, where they know the application, they know the third-party products, they've implemented for you probably before, they've taken you through multiple upgrades, and now what we're doing is adding in the infrastructure for it as well. So rather than you providing the servers for the implementation and that everything's going to be installed upon, we are going to provide those servers in co-location facilities here in Ontario. And then we are going to implement what are going to be the publishers. We're going to implement to exceed the publisher's recommendations. We are going to optimize those environments based upon this 35 years of experience of implementation. And at the same time, we want to be able to provide to you the experience of, well, there's the BAS ERP project team and technical team doing the implementation and the consultants. They're working with our team for the platform on the back end so that there is very minimal reason and requirement to work with your IT team. Essentially, we're implementing new servers in a cloud environment, installing your software and licenses, and then copying your data over to do a test upgrade for you to UAT, providing that out to you, and then when you're ready to go live, converting one last time so that you're able to continue to work on-prem while all of that migration process is being done. And then finally, when you're ready to cut over, it's just done for you. Now, when that is done, the Sage support still comes from BAS, from your lead consultant, from the BAS support desk, etc. They're still providing out their support like you would normally have. And our group is providing any support for end users for connectivity, access, printing, etc. So when we do that, we want to be able to provide that turnkey solution where it's, the proverbial one throat to choke, where we provide the servers, the backup, the business continuity, the support for all of those. And we let the BAS technical team take care of the implementation of it on that. And all you need to do on your side, your users are providing desktops and internet connections to be able to connect. And we want to make this scalable as well. So if today you've got 4 users and tomorrow you want to hire 2, you certainly can. Or if you've got 10 users and you are removing one and you can roll it back down to 9 the following month, you absolutely can. Increase or decrease users at any time. We'll provide the licensing and the access for them as needed. As well, if you have a third-party products, we are able to tailor fit that and implement them in our hosting solution as well. So we've got third-party product, Tyrox, PrintBoss, there's many common ones, but also, if you've got them, bring them to the table. We have a full library of more than a dozen that we've implemented so far, and we should be able to implement pretty much anything for you there. We also provide the security on the solution as well. We provide on those servers themselves. We lock them down. We provide the patching schedule for the Windows servers. We provide the security and detection software on the servers themselves. We implement the lockdown best practices, removing administrative access for your end users. So when they log in, really they only have just access into Sage 300 and are able to work. We provide multi-factor authentication for users for their access as well, and we can secure their access to connect via Parallels remote desktop services. And then finally, for future-proofing it, if and when you're ready to do the upgrades and it's in our environment, we're able to do that immediately as well. We have the infrastructure already in place to perform an upgrade. So if and when you come to the point that there's an upgrade, we create another environment and do the exact same thing of installing the applications, copying over the data, doing a test conversion, providing you access for UAT, and if and when you're ready to go live, they copy your data one more time, do the upgrade, and then the next time you log in the next business day, you're only able to get into that new environment. So that's how we transition it over for the end users. I'll do a quick presentation here on how does it actually work, how do users connect. We have it's web-based. We have a web-based portal that users log into, and they're from there able to log into their Sage 300 into the remote desktop services. We also have a desktop app that can be installed, and users can double-click and connect in. I'm going to show the web-based version here as an example, just a quick one. You navigate to a URL that we create for your company. That's yourcompany.bas.com. Users are given a unique username and password to log in, unique to them. They put in their username, their password, and then once they've got that far, they're asked a requirement for MFA. So they would put in MFA, multi-factor authentication, off their phone. We also have the ability to provide key fobs for those that don't provide phones or have an inability to have an end user use their own phone for the MFA. So we can provide key fobs very similar to what you'd see for banking software, etc., to log in. So you put in your username, your password, your 6-digit MFA code. Once you're into it, you are now in the web portal where they are going to see the remote desktop link. Double click on that and they get into the remote desktop environment. And from there is where they open up Sage 300, launch Sage 300. So getting past our login method, go to the website, put in the username, put in the MFA. You're now into the remote desktop environment, open up Sage, and from within Sage, whatever the permissions the end user has at that point are the permissions that they're going to have within Sage. You know, if somebody only has access to AP and AR, et cetera, or somebody is inventory control order entry, or if it's finance managers and access to GL, those permissions and security items are still within the Sage environment itself and still lock down the user for that. But essentially now, at this point, the end user is in. We want to demonstrate it's it's remote desktop services. This is not complicated. Very easy. Once you're in, the end user is then able to use their Sage 300. Now, I'm going to go through some of the common questions that we've listed out that I've received over time here, and I'm going to break these into two sections. The first section that I'm going to go over here is the common questions that I'm asked by finance team or decision makers of the organization prior to implementation or when implementing. I'm asked very often, what size of deployment, how many users is a typical installation? And I will say this, that the largest customers that we have are in the 70 to 90 range. The absolute largest that we have right now is 98 Sage 300 users across many locations. But that is really the outlier. 80% approximately of our customers are in the 3 to 8 user range. That is by far the most common, number of users for Sage 300. So it can scale. Somebody who's at 3 and goes up to 8, absolutely. If you've got 8 and you need going to 10, not a problem. If you're an organization that already has 30 or 40 users in multiple locations, not a problem. We've implementations like that already that we're supporting. We haven't seen here where we're scaling it up. As you can see, if you're getting into 60, 70, 80, 90 users, that's quite a few for Sage 300. And the same thing for the size of the databases. We have customers here that very typical 4 to 5 gig of data, but we've also got customers with 100 gig databases in Sage 300. So those can be very widely, two ends of the spectrum, and we have all of them in there. I'm asked here as well, if we're connected from the office, but can we connect from home as well? And absolutely. So this one here is a key point. What we do for additional security is we whitelist the internet connection and IP of your office so that you're able to connect in. But if you are connecting from home, we put an extra hoop that you have to jump through, because we don't publish out the Sage 300, your Sage 300 out to the web where anybody can possibly see it or see the portal to log in. We put a firewall auth in front of it so as an example, I use the exact same procedure when I am working from home, which is the majority of the time. And even all the people from BAS, 140, 150 people across Canada and US logging into our systems here. From within the office, they could automatically get right to it, to the username and password, and be able to log in with the MFA. But when working from home, they have to go to a firewall webpage, we'll call it, secure.bas.com or something, where they put in a username and password. And then once they've done that and minimize it for the next 24 hours, they can connect. So then they can open up their Sage 300 remote desktop or their Sage CRM or whatever application they're getting into. And the reason for that is we just put an extra barrier so that hackers, etc., can't find that website specifically on the web. It's not there. So the bottom line is yes, connecting from home, not a problem. The majority of our people are doing it right now. And I would say the majority of our customers are also having that remote workforce as well. Another question here is, can I add third-party products? I touched on that a little bit earlier. Absolutely. PrintBoss, ORCID EFT, etc. We see these all the time. These are very common. We see some more complex document management, etc. also being requested. And yes, we are able to do those. So please, if you've got third-party apps or customization, etc., please just bring it to the table and we'll be able to vet it out very quickly. And we have yet to find something that's just not possible to bring in. Printing, I'm asked as well. How does printing work? Can I print to my check printer at the office? Absolutely. So when you connect into this, the system that we have, we're using printer redirection and universal print drivers to make this very flexible. Printers will automatically map that you have, business printers that you have will automatically map through to the remote desktop system. So anything you've got on your desktop there. And we've also got situations where people, organizations may have multiple locations and they want to be able to use PrintBoss as an example to print a single document in multiple locations at the same time. And yes, we can map printers in the remote desktop environment so that they print out in different areas. Or example, if you've got a physical check printer back at the office that you want mapped only for an individual user in finance, yes, we can tie that to the server so that when they log in, they can see it and they print out checks at the office while working from home. So very flexible on the printing side. And of course, we get asked, hey, can I print to local printers at home as well? And yes, printers normally, they will map automatically and you should be able to print to them directly. Another question we get, what do I need to bring? What do we need to bring to the table to make this sort of a thing work? I've said this a little bit earlier, but just bring your Sage 300 license and data. That's it. You bring your Sage 300 license and data, your internet connection, your device for MFA, or we will provide you with a fob if required, and the PC. The computer does need to be Windows 8.1 or higher, and you need to be installing the Windows updates. We follow the Microsoft and security patch cycle of vendors, and sometimes those vendors will deprecate some service. So if you don't have your computers patched, they may not be able to connect. So yes, Windows 8.1 or higher, and installing your Windows updates, and you'll be able to connect. And I'm often asked as well, local file sharing for the accounting team. Hey, our accounting group has a set of files that we work with, and are we able to put those in this remote desktop services environment so that we're able to continue to use that as a departmentalized share and just put our permissions on those folders and subfolders, by user or by role? Absolutely, yes. Storage is cheap, and compared to everything else that's going to be implemented or deployed. So if you said I've got 10 gig of file shares of Word docs and PDFs and things like that, and we want to put our accounting team's departmental shares in the remote desktop environment, absolutely you can. Microsoft Office is installed in these environments, so you've got access to the apps to be able to open these files, PDF reader as well. So yes, you can move accounting team file shares into it as well if you wish. And then a question we get less from the business and the owners and that, but from the end users when they're first connecting in, we do commonly get asked, hey, do I have to put in this MFA off of my phone every time I log in every day? Yes, the answer to that is yes. This is security at the cost of convenience. Every time you log into it, if you log out of it, the next day you're logging back in, or midday you log out of everything and log back in again. Every time that you log in, you have to enter an MFA. And trust me, you want this. You want us to be enforcing something like that. And the other one we get asked a lot is, can we copy and paste files from local to the server? Yes, you can. Natively, we have that enabled. Sometimes we have an organization say, distinctly, actually, we've decided we don't want that, and we can force that to be turned off. But normally, if you want to be able to copy files, it is say from your desktop, copy and paste it in the environment, from the remote desktop environment, and copy and paste it down to your machine. You absolutely can. I'll go now and I'll switch to a few IT questions here that I often get asked for now. How do you secure the end user connection, and what do you use to get connected? So what we add on to remote desktop services, we add on something from Corel called Parallels. This is our RAS server for remote access, and it provides the secure portal for end users to connect to. So we do not use a VPN. We use that Parallels RAS web portal to secure the connection between our environment and the end user. And then beyond that, of course, as I mentioned, to secure that connection, we don't allow access to the environment's webpage, except for from your office, or unless you've put in the username and password and authenticated against the firewall. If you don't do that, you can't even get to the web page. So we do that just so that your data is important to us. We don't want anybody to even see this environment should they be browsing on the web. You can't get to it unless you have that authentication method first. I'm asked about backups. Have you got a separated copies, etc. So in regards to backups, we actually have 7 different data locations for backups in our environment in total throughout the business continuity. Some of them are backup just for restore, quick and easy access and restore. Some of them are for failover on the hardware restore in the colos. Others are off-site, so we take the data here is backed up within the environment itself. We have a server images taken off-site as well. And then the last point that we have is we have an arm's length last copy of the last 90 days of backups separated from our IT and infrastructure and management group and separated from our co-location and archived with a vendor, so that in the event that something were to happen to our environment, there is a last arm's length copy that we could still restore from. That's not even we have access to, that we can't delete, that we can't get to even if we wanted to. And so there's this separation of backups that we have. We're asked here, are server resources shared? No, they are not. Every environment here for every client is a completely dedicated and separated environment. We don't share SQL, we don't share Active Directory, we don't share any environment itself. Each one of these are self-contained. They're on their own VLANs, separated from all other customers, from all other virtual environments. And so every server is dedicated, no shared identity management, etc. As well, I'm asked security software, what do we use? So we find here most people like yourselves, if you've got security questionnaires or things from your cyber insurance policies, etc., you're going to be asked for things that are more than just antivirus, and absolutely that is what we have as well. While we do have antivirus, we also have implemented web content filtering, DNS filtering, EDR software, and 24/7 MDR software, managed detection and response software, that is managed by a third-party US-based SOC that is looking at these servers 24/7, and so that in the event that there's any sign of anything nefarious going on with it, they're acting on it independently even of our group, so that we have that 24/7 coverage and support for it on the security software aspect. And we also lock down the servers, and we put in a zero trust tool to lock down servers so that there's not, administrative access for any of your users, etc. And then the last question I get here from is quite often is, hey, what about your team and how do they access our environments and how is that secured? So we have tools installed on these servers to help manage or to manage them and to audit them, but also to manage our team's access. So our team here, to be able to access into your environment, and even the BAS's team, the ability to get into your environment, their remote access tools have unique usernames, passwords, and MFA. Every one of them has to use MFA to be able to get into it. Then they have to MFA just to get the usernames and passwords, and then MFA to get into your environment. And those passwords that are saved in a secure password vault manager, that is MFA. So our team has to go 3 different hoops just to be able to get into your environment. The reason for that sort of a thing is simply so that we're providing as much of the best practices of security for your environment as we can possibly put in place as well.